Oh, you remembered.
Yes. Okay, good morning, everybody. Or good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching. I told myself this morning to hit that recording button first. So if you haven't had a chance to watch any of the replay yesterday, I was telling in the replay that I totally forgot to hit the recording button yesterday, which never happened to me in the past. So that was interesting. And that was the real time for me that I moved to a disempowering state. Maybe like a 3 seconds. It didn't last longer than 3 seconds because I'm teaching this. I need to embody it, right? So, but fear is a biological stuff. So it happens. So it's not that we need to eliminate fear, but to be able to recognize and shift out of that quickly. So I have been communicating with different people over Facebook, and I think people are getting out of it. People who are watching, of course, right? And then also there are people who are sort of catching up because they have been having something. It's interesting. I think it was Isabel who said that it feels like this is the missing link. That's what she said. And I love when people say that because I have always looked for the missing link. And what a great thing to be somebody's missing link, right? Because I think people are searching a lot of stuff and there's a lot of information. And I think there are a lot of great information out there, but there is a missing, missing link. Missing link is to connect the dots between. This is what I did. I connected the dots between spirituality and personal development, um, consciousness study, all that kind of stuff. And that's missing link layer number one. Missing link layer number two is to really take people from understanding to internalizing to embody. Because something that I'm going to be talking about today, which is when you understand the nature of conscious mind and subconscious mind, you will not get the result by understanding this information. So what I'm saying up front is that you are, you know, listening to this, watching this, and absorbing the information, and intellectually you hear this, and then let me just tell you, not to be mean, your life will not change with this. I'm just gonna tell you, right? Because that's in your conscious mind. That's why so many people love going to Tony Robbins seminar, weekend seminar, get pumped up, and then that after effect is there for maybe like a 3 or 4 days, and then their habitual familiar states start absorbing back. And one of the reasons for that is because people don't know how to change the subconscious. Number two, they're going back to the life environment that they have always been. So if you're living in the same place, if you're hanging out with the same people, if you're going to the same working environment that you had in your, in the environment with your previous identity, and then you get stimulated and inspired by some information temporarily. But then if you go back to the same environment, the feeling will absorb back to the previous place, right? So that's why it's really important to, I think that was well, one thing that I was telling yesterday, to be super intentional in going in your mind, going to that desired outcome. Because if we're not cultivating this mental muscle called attention, which was the third thing out of the three keys to change, we will, as a default state, go back to thinking from our memory, thinking from the outside in. So at the beginning, you will need a conscious attention to be able to live there. And one of the things that I don't know if I say this, I'm doing different things at the same time. So I don't know if I said this in this workshop, is that people use the term reality to refer to the three-dimensional world, the material world, the physical world, right? Um, but all three planes are reality. And the third dimension is the effect. So, in that spiritual realm, there is this practice of being present in the moment, right? Uh, I would say spiritual space encourage us to practice living, being present in the moment, because that's all there is. And less than the personal development industry, as far as I observe. Um, but the point is that I think people have this misunderstanding, and let me just make it um, really upfront that this is a misunderstanding that people think and assume the present moment is in the physical world. Present moment is the physical world. So thinking about the future and imagining, I sometimes get pushback. Well, then you're not in the present moment, right? But when we understand that the fifth dimension spiritual plane, fourth dimensional imagination, and the third dimension, all three planes are reality, and you might be thinking about the future, and I think I said yesterday that there's no such a thing as past and future, right? We're just remembering or bringing that image in your mind, and what's happening is happening in the present moment. So it's not about not being in the present moment when you're imagining. It's just that it feels for most people as if they're not in the present moment when they consciously visualize the future, because they have an assumption and misunderstanding the physical world is the reality. Does that make sense? Now, if the imagined world, the fourth dimensional intellectual mind imagined world, is also reality, and the beauty is this though, you can be the author of that intellectual imagined world however you want to, right? So when you picture in your mind whatever you want to imagine, and then feel that, you are creating the present moment the way you want to. So I just want to sort of have this idea and perspective for those who might be assuming that, well, visualization is different from meditation. Meditation is all about being present in the moment. Visualization is about, bringing the future into the present moment. Yes, you can think that way, but for me, everything is happening in the present moment. And by visualizing and mentally picture deliberately what we want in our imagination, we are creating in our mind the experience that we want in the present moment. So the five sensory world is wonderful, right? You can experience the sun, you can experience nature, you can experience music, you can experience anything from the physical world, but that is pretty passive because you're receiving it. But the imagined world that you can originate from within is very creative. And I don't want to creative mind actually is a subconscious mind. I want to, well, both are creative minds. So the conscious mind can originate an idea out of nothing, right? So the example that I gave, oh, you know what? Actually, I don't think I gave this example in the replay, but the example that I gave in the live session yesterday was imagine the ocean and bear floating. Now, you have never seen that in the physical world, but if I suggest that, you can imagine, because you can originate imagination however you want to, right? That's because we are on the same page what ocean is and what bear is. If I begin telling some sort of animals that you have never heard, you might not be able to imagine, right? But you can imagine that. So in that sense, you can say the conscious mind is creative, but the real creative mind is your subconscious mind. So I'm going to talk about that today. So what I have today is this, but so yesterday as a reflection, we talk about identify the habitual feeling or emotion you might be living, and how can we shift into gratitude and begin shifting around the sense of worthiness, because that if you have a sense of not good enoughness or not feeling worthy enough, it's going to be easy for people to think and feel in a disempowered way, right? And we want to replace that with what are the emotions that you want to replace with. And then it has been clear, probably throughout this workshop, that thinking positively and thinking in an empowered way is not just about having a peace of mind or feeling calm, but it's much, much more than that when we understand that we are a spiritual being. So I want to go to the reflection of day 3, which is what do you really want in life? This is my favorite question to ask. One, because I think it's a great question. And two, I don't know any single actually person who was able to answer immediately, boom, this is what I want. Most of the time, people tell me, oh, that's a good question, or that's an interesting question. And so your outside is what you want as an outcome. And in order for us to create and manifest that life in the outside world, we need to begin seeing ourselves as in a certain way. So I'm going to talk about that. Today is about the thought, what is the title? The power of thoughts, right? And it's all about conscious manifestation. But here's the mind trip that I want to invite everyone. So you probably living your life currently assuming that tomorrow is going to be similar, right? You might not have a conscious awareness around it, but your subconscious is not expecting anything else because that's that autopilot mode, right? And you have the place that you're living, you have the things that you're doing, you have the people that you're surrounded by, right? So I want to invite you to take a moment to sort of set that aside and then begin thinking and mentally picturing this idea that you got sent on this earth plane, however long ago, depending on your age, right? So you were a baby, an infant, an embryo, and you got sent on this physical plane. Many people tell me, I do not know what my purpose is. And then people who are unclear about their purpose tends to feel a sense of emptiness, tends to feel a sense of something is missing in their gut feeling in their heart. And then when people tell me, I don't know what my purpose is, I tell them, the reason that you're here is already a part of the purpose. So when people say, there's no accident that you got sent on this earth plane in this time of history, everything has a meaning in it, right? So how can we see the arrival of us in this physical plane as a part of the purpose and intention of the bigger picture? That's where we want to see from. So when people say, I don't know what my purpose is, what I learned is that people are usually saying, I don't know what vehicle is for me to be able to express myself fully. And then when you are not having that full expression of you, people feel like they're not expressing fully because they're not expressing it. And then they feel like they are not on purpose, right? Well, let me tell you, there are only two purposes in life. One is to craft your gift within, whatever that is. And if you tell me that you are not sure what that is not true because there's nothing that your heart does not know. If you arrive on this planet and if you can tap into that knowing and being, which is the language of the spirit and the soul, your heart already knows what's important to you. That's why, the desire The desire is the urge of the soul wanting to expand fully. Yeah. So it's the mind, like I said yesterday, that sort of covers the heart. And then because we are all conditioned to not even allowing ourselves to give a permission to want what we want. So other people decide it for us most of the time. And then when we say we want something, uh, most of us were told, oh, you cannot have it. So we decided and learned to suppress that desire. So it's not that people don't know the purpose. We already have a purpose as a part of this journey. And then half of that is to craft that gift within. Now, that gift can be your profession, that gift can be a relationship that you're forming with somebody. It could be your desire to be able to do something that you feel passionate about. It could be being a mother. It could be being a father. It could be whatever that is that gives you that uh, harnessing sensation in within you. That is the desire, right? And nobody else can tell you what that is, but you only know. So you don't want to ask me, what do you what do you think my desire is? Because I will not answer that question. Just go to your heart. So that's the 50% of it, right? What's the another 50% of the purpose is to really cultivate and nurture that desire and the craft gift that you have within, and then to serve the world. So you can use that to touch other people. And what I usually like to explain is that, that when the heart is open, or when the mind, the conditioned mind is not covering the heart, so your heart is already open, right? So it's allowing that expression to shine through. It means that you are the light, and the less you are suppressing, the more you have that heart opens, you are brighter. And then when you go to somebody else, in front of somebody else with that bright light, now you're allowing that person to be able to see their light because of your brightness, right? That's how we touch other people. So this is just a little analogy and metaphor, but it doesn't really matter what the vehicle is. Everybody's doing the same thing. And then essentially, for me, where I'm arriving is that the meaning of light is to go back to that oneness of who we truly are. So in the material plane, we cultivate like that light within us. So we craft the gift, and we strive for becoming that best version of ourselves. And the light becomes brighter, brighter, brighter. And then we use that brightness to help other people's light shine. And then when that illuminates around the world, it is that oneness that we're creating. Does that make sense? So it's just coming back to home, right? So having all those background information in mind, today after the session, what I want you to sort of reflect is what is it that you really really want in life, and what do you need to see yourself as. So little quick outline. So we have already talked about what is the empowering thoughts about. I'm going to touch upon. Now, one of the things that I'm going to be talking about extensively is the creative mechanism. So I said that the conscious mind can originate an idea, but subconscious mind is the creative mind. Now I'm going to talk about what that exactly is. Um, for a lot of people, the logic is in the way. So when we comes down to the power of thoughts and in conscious manifestation, we must learn to let go of the how this is going to happen. People want to see from point A to point B in order for them to feel safe. But that's not how manifestation happens. Because if I use a little bit of different language, the logic from moving from point A to point B is a Newtonian perspective. So it's a mechanical way of thinking. The quantum level, which happens in the process of manifestation, is out of the logic. So I just want to say that because a lot of people, because people cannot see the how, they start not pursuing, and that often prevents people from manifesting. Uh, the concept of self is the most important thing that we want to practice, nurturing and building, because that is the seed of everything. And we're gonna really this is my mission for people to be really able to live from the 5D through 4D to 3D, and then utilize all three planes, because this is what we are here to do. So new share. So we talked about yesterday the mind and the body. And one of the things that I want to extensively talk about today is the role of the subconscious mind and what we really need to do. And then based on my experience and observation, people resist it. We want to let go of resistance and go be in the flow and the harmony with the universal law, right? So this is your head and this is your body, conscious mind, subconscious mind, your heart, which is your body, and the conscious mind, that's the thinking, and the subconscious mind, that's the feeling. Now, if you have been attending my previous workshop, I am drawing a little bit different diagram than previously. And this is your third dimension, and this is your fifth dimension. And let's say we're creating that fourth dimension here using the mind and using the body. Now, the subconscious mind has different traits that is important to really know. So let's say you have a thought and you visualize in your mind. So if you close your eyes, so you don't even actually close your eyes, you can picture something, right? And let's say, what is it that you really, really want? You picture the desire in your mind's eyes. Yeah. And whenever you picture, you can picture right now, whatever you want, right? Whatever the accomplishment, whatever that fills your heart, whatever that gives you a sense of joy. You know, when you're expressing yourself fully and visualizing the life that you desire, it needs to feel free, because ultimately what we're seeking as a human creature is the feeling of freedom. If you want meaningful relationship, that's because we are seeking a feeling of freedom. If you want a fulfilling job, because that puts us into a feeling of freedom. More energy, health gives us feeling of freedom. More money gives us feeling of freedom. That is the ultimate experience that we can have. So if you picture that in your mind, and then whenever you picture something in your mind, there is a feeling that you can activate in your body. Yeah. So that is what we want to consciously do. And notice that if you picture thoughts or image in your mind coming from your past memory and past, or something that's lacking from the outside, as I said yesterday, use that feeling anxious, use that feeling irritable, whatever that is, and that becomes the point of attraction. And what does that mean? So you think an image, your whatever you want in your picture screen of your mind, and your body start vibrating in harmony with the thoughts that you're imagining. And then when you begin acting from that vibration, the universe react, because this is the law of cause and effect. What's happening in our life outside is a direct reflection of how we are vibrating at the subconscious level. It's so important to take action from the vibration that we want to be in. What does that mean? Let me give you an example. So let's say, well, you have the current outcome and life and result that you're experiencing right now, right? And then the life that you're visualizing is a little bit different. So let me erase this, and let me just draw a line like this. So this is a level of vibration, frequency, because everything operates in frequency. So let's say you're right here right now, your current life, and the life that you want is over here. Yeah. So this is A, your point A, and your point B. And if you are a point A, the outside outcome of point A is a reflection of inside thinking, inside feeling that is congruent with point A. You can think of this as a radio station, different frequency. Yeah. And when you visualize your desired outcome, which is point B, you need to begin visualizing a little bit different version of you, different outcome in your life, and different feeling about you, self-image, self-esteem, self-worth inside. And then you have that in your mind, in your subconscious mind, right? Now, when you do your visualization, you might be able to go there, right? But when you finish your visualization, when you open your eyes, we need to practice staying here and take action from that vibration, not coming back here and take action from the point A vibration. This is what makes people stuck all the time because it becomes really unconscious. People do the visualization and people feel the emotion as if they're there. And then when they finish and when they go back to that three-dimensional quote unquote reality, their level of vibration and an image that they're holding about themselves is going back to that current version and then take action from that vibration. That's why they get the same result, because the result never lies, always go harmonize with your vibration. So what we need to practice is to, once you think, and then we need to convince our subconscious mind. That's why we need repetition. So a couple of traits of the subconscious mind, right? Your subconscious mind cannot reject information and can be changed through repetition. It requires over and over and over repetition. It cannot differentiate what's imagined and what's real in the outside world, and cannot interpret the term not. So that's why we never want to focus on what we don't want. So if you say that, if you have an anxiety, and if you imagine yourself not having anxiety, you never want to imagine not having anxiety, but go to that place of what it feels to be free of that. Because if you say, I don't want this, you will attract the thing that you don't want, right? You start vibrating. And then once you identify what you want, this is another key. You want to stop wanting it. Because if you say to yourself, I want this, you're telling your subconscious mind at the same time that I do not have that, right? So once you identify the thing that you want to begin seeing yourself in your mind's eyes that you already have that, you already are doing and taking action from that place, and you already are that person, and how it feels to be that person already. So you're no longer wanting it. You are that person. So it's like an acting, right? Acting, but you want to almost feel like every single cell in your body is convinced that you are that person. Let's backtrack a little bit. I want you to imagine 5 years ago and the life right now. There's something that is different between 5 years ago and right now, right? Something that you didn't have, you weren't experiencing. And right now you're experiencing, right? Your whole body, your subconscious is convinced that you are that person that you are right now, right? You are not doubting about it because you're surrounded by it, but you want to surround your desired version using imagination as if you're convinced being in your current environment. Does that make sense? So let's do 3 points. You're here right now. and then you think of 5 years ago, different, different awareness, different mentality, different environment, different skill set, whatever that is. Think of 5 years later. So using that visual rehearsal, when that 5 years later can be felt as natural as you being right now here, that's when the results start shifting. Does that make sense? This is a pretty good example because you can track 5 years before, right now, 5 years later, what you want. You know, you fully trust where you are in the environment that you're surrounded by right now because you're experiencing. And then you can recall the 5 years before as a memory. 5 years later, you have a desire to go there, but it's a little bit more vague, softer, and maybe there's a little bit of, you know, pieces that you feel like you need to put together to solidify that image of you and sensation. That's what we want to begin building in our mind. And then when you put your current version and 5 years later side by side, you almost want to convince your mind and a subconscious mind that the 5 years later version of you is already here because you're living in that place in your imagination so much that when you open your eyes and look at the physical world, oh, I thought that that was already my life, but it's not here yet, and it's on the way. Does that make sense? There are a lot of people who know of law of attraction, and I don't think most people are there enough. Most people are not living in the fourth dimensional desire outcome and the feeling of it enough. And then here's the thing. If you have that clear vision of 5 years later, who you want to become, what's the outcome that you want to be producing, you want to mentally picture that in the screen of the mind and then feel how it feels like to be that person today. And then when you look at the outside world and act from that 5 years later version of you, vibration, frequency. This requires a little bit of practice because we're not conditioned and trained to live that way. Yeah. So it requires being in gratitude. It requires being able to suspend the past memory by building, nurturing that sense of worthiness. It's required when that thought process coming from the past shows up, it requires to notice and to be able to shift the attention to the desired version of you. And then here's the thing, in the three-dimensional physical world, you will always see the luck, because what you want is always what you currently do not have. Otherwise, you wouldn't want it. Does that make sense? So if you already have in the physical world, you're not going to desire it. You don't need to desire it because you already have it. So when you open your eyes and look at the physical world, you will always see the lack. And it's so important to not to give energy to that lack. So what do? Look at what's good in it, go to the gratitude, and then really trust and live that I am creating the present moment in the imagination as an author of my own life. And to really convince in this idea that the three-dimensional world is not the only reality, but the effect of my thinking and imagination. And because if my heart is open and if my soul is able to appear, I'm connected to the power, the source, the bigger version of it. So I have the power to manifest in the physical world. I'm trying to remember if I said this. In the spiritual plane, nothing is created or destroyed. Everything is already here. And this is going to be a little bit of stay with me because sometimes this blows people's mind or it goes over people's head. I'm just going to warn you. So the 5 years later version of you, the desired outcome and the person that you would like to become, that version of you already exists. Yeah, that version of you already exists because nothing lacks in the spiritual plane. Everything is already complete. Yeah. Now, when I say that, I think you don't want to go to your intellectual mind because then you start thinking about it, right? Now, it's not that exists in the physical world, but that version already exists. So let's say this is an example that Bob often gives. Like an iPhone didn't exist 20, 30 years ago, right? But the ability and the possibility to create an iPhone always existed. Somebody became aware of it. So how things can manifest in the physical form, it always through the expansion of awareness. So in this, individual sense, we are wanting to manifest something. How do we expand our awareness? There's only one thing that we need to do is to begin able to see in your mind's eyes who you want to become. Because right now, the life that you're living is based on how you're seeing you. So if you change the way you see you and you begin expanding and begin seeing yourself as a desired outcome, and when you start vibrating in that feeling, that version of you appears. So when you set a goal, we often talk about, I'm right here and I want to go over there. We're not going anywhere. We're just coming in deeper within and begin shifting the way we see ourselves using the fourth dimensional imagination. And here's the beautiful thing, everyone. When you go closer to the ideal version of you that fulfills the desire, it also means that you're going closer to the fifth dimension, the divine version of you, to be able to express yourself fully. And when that integration merge happens, how you see you in your intellectual mind, fulfilling the heart desire, your spiritual essence integrates with the intellectual self, and that's how you can collapse time. What do I mean by that? It means that the more you see yourself in a certain way, and when that becomes a dominant frequency of how you operate every single day, and when you become that feeling, because your subconscious mind is a part of the infinite universal intelligence, there's no separation. It just works with the harmonious resonance. So when you convince your subconscious mind that that ideal version is already here, it just harmonizes and you will begin magnifying and attracting the desired outcome towards you in an effortless way. And you never want to think about how that is going to happen because nobody knows. Let's say if you're seeking a certain result and you met somebody and you're interacting with somebody, but that opportunity might come from a completely different place, suddenly out of nowhere. One of the things that we talk about in PGI, in Bob Proctor's community that I'm surrounded by, is goal setting, who you want to become and what kind of result you want to accomplish, is an intellectual exercise, right? So you form the picture in your intellect. But goal achieving, manifesting and attracting is a lawful process. Lawful process meaning it's a universal law. So you're not thinking, oh, I'm going to go here, I'm going to here. You want to be intuitively open and follow your intuition, and things will come to you. Like when you go to that imagination of the desired outcome, usually intuitive hit idea pops up. So let me give you a little example. Let's say if you're stuck with something right now, right? Is there some situation that you want to move through? If you're focusing on the fact that you're stuck and you're having a problem, no idea will come to you because that feeling of stuckness is closing the door and blocking that energy flowing. Yeah. But let's say if you're stuck with something and then you say, oh, I don't want this, right? What do I want? And you go to your imagination, oh, this is the end result. This is the desired outcome that I'm seeking. How would I see myself if I'm already there? How would I feel if I'm already there? And when you entertain that imagination and a feeling of that wish, desire fulfilled, you start having different idea pops up, different things that come towards you. It's that easy. And then we want to stop analyzing how the heck that is happening. That is happening through the universal law. Because like attract light, if you're focusing on a solution appears. If you're in a harmonious vibration with the uplifting state, that is helping you to create that will appear around you. So subconscious mind is truly a creative mind, meaning that once you impress that information into your subconscious mind, the universe will take care for you. So we must let go and not to get attached to it. We are almost out of time, but I want to mention something vitally important. So I think this is something that I started to say heavily starting last workshop. So the conception of you, how you see you, is very important. Sorry, this is a smaller diagram. Let's say this is your mind, and this is your body, and this is your thinking, and this is your feeling. Right. Past, present. I'm just gonna do this, present, future. Okay, so a lot of people who are in the law of attraction psychology, there are a lot of people who believe that they have a blockage because of the trauma in the past, the sense of worthiness, not good enoughness. That feeling is in the subconscious mind, and that is blocking from attracting what they want. Yeah. So the past memory is influencing their feeling, and that feeling is nested in the subconscious, and they want to do something about that block. Yeah. But I must say that if you believe so, and if you're focusing on that, you are in that vicious cycle of that I'm having a mental block, I don't want that mental block cycle, which will never be effective to attract anything. So what we suggest is identify it, write it down, and put it out there and stop focusing. Now, what we want to do is to use that imagination and the practice of auto-suggestion to begin shifting that feeling. So once you identify what you don't want, we quickly want to shift into what you want, and then use the mind, the thinking, the visual to affect the feeling, the body, that sense of who you feel you are, right? Now, here's the thing. How you see you, I think I started this workshop by saying that the concept of you only resides in your mind. Who you truly are is more than your intellectual self. There's a more of the spiritual essence. But the identity, the thinking process, how you're performing in this world is in your intellectual mind. Now, a lot of people are focusing on this. They're trying to change themselves, their past, their trauma, their blockage. We don't need to do any of those. What we want to focus on is to change how we see. This makes sense. So when you close your eyes and imagine, that is the you that we want to begin cultivating and nurturing in your mind. It's not, you don't need to change who you are. You only need to change how you see yourself in your imagined world. It took me a little bit while for me to really understand what this means. Because right now, as I say this, you might be understanding and getting it. And then when we go out in the real life, which is, people call the real life, people start looking at themselves in a certain way, and they are so busy trying to shift themselves. But what if you have a free will, which we do, to choose any thoughts that you want to be thinking all the time? And when you change the image of you by creating consciously, because we can originate, remember ocean and the bear, you can think that. So you can think of you, anything you want in your mind's eyes. And we just want to create that and begin continuing to paint that picture over and over and over, because once you pay attention to that and give energy to that new version of how you're seeing you in your mind's eyes, the old version, the thing that the person that you wanted to change will start dissipating out of the system because you're not giving a nourishment. That's how it works. In order to change something, you just create a new model so the old model becomes obsolete. There's a Buckminster Fuller's quote. So what we really want to practice is to stop focusing on the things that's not making a drastic change and begin practicing gratitude and then nurturing that sense of worthiness and pay attention to your mind. What are we telling ourselves? Because every single thoughts that we think is going to add up to the concept of self. If you say something, that's going to be a part of the shaping process of who you are in your mind. So we only want to choose to say and talk about empowering thoughts if you want to be that person. If you want to be a disempowering person, you can continue to talk about that, but I don't think anybody wants that. So really practice imagination and see yourself in your mind, the person you want to be, and then constantly monitor the thought process. Am I saying this? And these words is going to be contributing to the person I want to become, or it's confusing, right? So how you see yourself is the only thing that you want to change. And when that aligns with the desired outcome and that completeness of who you are going to collapse time, meaning the result will appear to you in front of you out of nowhere. But we must commit and dedicate and become loyal to master this, but nothing else. Ooh, that is it, everyone. So I made it 3 day for a reason. So you have a moment to maybe go back and watch stuff. And I do not have anything tomorrow. You're welcome to sort of absorb the replay, reflection. Let me go to reflection question again. And so what do you really want in life? What do you see? What do you need to see yourself as, right? It's perfect. So what kind of person you need to see yourself as in your mind's eyes to attract what you want in life is what we want to contemplate. And on Saturday morning, I'll be doing a little bit of bonus training and Q&A. So absorb the information. If you have questions, I want you to bring those questions on Saturdays. I'm not going to have any slides or anything on Saturdays. We're just going to chat. And if somebody wants to go deeper with this, I have a lot of stuff that I can offer. We can talk about that. If you have any question and not able to attend Saturday morning, I'm going to post a thread on Facebook group so people can ask questions. I'll make sure to answer in the Zoom call. And all the replays are going to be available until Tuesday, the 19th. Okay, that is all I have for today. So I think I need usually around 50 minutes to cover everything. Okay. Share anything on Facebook group if you have any question, insights, and I will see you everyone on Saturday. Thank you for joining.